Welcome to the 2022 Roca Annual Breakfast. Along with my wife, Devika Kapoor, I'm honored to serve on Roca's Board of Directors and as co-chair for this event. I know I speak for the entire Roca team in expressing regret that this year's breakfast is again virtual, but we all look forward to seeing everyone in person in 2023. We have an outstanding program planned for the next 45 minutes. For the many of you who are already supportive of Roca, we are enormously grateful. And for those of you here to learn more about Roca and its life-changing work, I hope you come away as inspired as I am to support the Roca team. You're going to hear a lot this morning about how Roca is meeting the moment. And before I introduce our first speaker, I want to tell you what that means to me and why this moment has been the right time for me to step up my engagement with Roca. I've been familiar with the work that Roca does for a few years now, and I joined the board last year. I believe that today, more than ever before, our communities and society need innovative approaches and vastly different solutions to some of our most vexing problems of increasing violence, trauma, and inequity. Roca is meeting the moment by thinking far beyond work programs and criminal justice reform and attacking the root cause of the issues by leveraging cognitive science research and behavioral health theories. More importantly, Roca is putting this into practice using its outreach efforts, refined over decades, to make systemic changes that benefit us all. I'm so proud to be associated with Roca, Molly, and the entire team here, and it's my honor to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for this event, Chief Michael Davis. Mike is a former urban police chief and currently the Vice President for Campus Safety and Chief of Police at Northeastern University and co-Vice President of the Roca Board. Mike?
Thank you, Aaron and Devika, for your support of this event and all of Roca's work. I also want to acknowledge the tremendous generosity of all of the sponsors of this breakfast. We're fortunate the list is so long that we can't recognize them all this morning, but I want to give a special shout out to our transformational and leadership sponsors. Al and Diane Kanab, Dan Lyons and Rockport Mortgage, Beacon Communities, Charles Bank Capital Management, and Mass Mutual. The theme of our time together is meeting the moment. In so many ways, Roca is meeting the moment. So how do we define the moment we are in? We've had a devastating pandemic coupled with escalating levels of violence in our major cities not seen since the early 1990s that have compounded the trauma within neighborhoods that were already struggling. There's a broader recognition for underserved populations and a greater commitment to equality. There's a more robust understanding of brain science and what really drives long-term behavioral change. There's a recognition of federal and state levels of government that a new ideological approach and innovations are needed to stem the rising tide of violence, along with embracing violence prevention as a behavioral health intervention. There's a call not only to reform policing, but to create real synergy amongst all units of government and nonprofits that serve the highest risk young people. So given these dynamics, how is Roca meeting the moment? First, there's our relentless outreach to the highest risk young people, meeting them where they are. We're clearly an exemplar in this space. We're focusing on the brain science of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to give young people the tools and skills they need to think, feel, and act differently. We're sharing this brain science directly with police and other institutions at the center of urban violence, understanding that it's not just our young people that are suffering from the trauma that they witness and experience, but police officers and other service providers as well. This, in essence, is equipping frontline staff to deliver CBT anywhere they can engage young people. We're reaching beyond the places where we provide direct service by launching the Roca Impact Institute to equip and align institutions across the country. We are equipping law enforcement, departments of probation, parole and reentry, along with community violence intervention programs with strategies and tools to drive change. Last fall, with the support of extraordinary partners, we expanded our program for young mothers to Hartford, Connecticut. Early returns have been incredibly impressive, quickly leading for a call for Roca to expand to other communities within the state. Roca is built to meet the challenges and capitalize on the opportunities of this moment with our commitment to mitigating suffering, promoting justice, and giving rise to the potential of all young people. As we do every year at this event, Roca will now recognize a special group of individuals as recipients of the 2022 Viche Fong Peace Award. This award is named in honor of a remarkable young man, Viche Fong, who overcame so much and displayed incredible resiliency as he worked to turn young people away from gangs and spread peace. Viche was a very young man when he was tragically killed in an industrial accident. Everyone at Roca loved and admired Viche, and he would be exceptionally proud of the 3 young people you will now meet.
Good morning. My name is Roger Campbellton. I'm 27 years old, and I'm from Mattapan, and I've been involved in Roca since 2017. I've had many struggles that young people don't often have to face. I didn't have a consistent support system at home. I had to face homelessness at a young age. I was involved in the streets because I felt that I can control more of the streets than my home. So my journey with Roca was just like, it was hard at first, because I'm like, nope, I don't want to talk to this guy. Nope, I'm good. I don't want to talk to 50 people that know Roderick, like maybe a handful, but not too many. I really wasn't that type of person, because I was still like involved in the streets a lot. So there was still like trust issues, just a lot of bullshit that come with the streets. So, and once I met, you know, the few people that was in the program, and like I said before, like they started to actually, once I started listening, it didn't really sound like it was like, oh, these people wanted you to say this. It was like, this really came from your brain. So like, let me listen, see what you got going on. And then once I did that throughout the course of me being in Roca, it was like my outcomes were better. It was like I get into certain shit like with family, friends, and it's like, damn, I did listen to Kev or Terrence or Tar or whoever was there at the moment to really help me figure it out, because it's like there's truth behind stuff. I feel like every time I had an opportunity from Roca, it was always a step up from the last one. That's the great part about it. Always, it was like, all right, I'm working in this brewery, like I know how to do all of this stuff. I'm on a canning line, I'm doing labels, I'm doing this decal shit. I'm like, all of this stuff is in my head and I'm doing it. But it's like, a couple months down the line, it's like, do I really like this? Do I really want it? Nah, and then it was like, all right, on to the next one. You know what I'm saying? This happens or this, so. It just took a lot of time and effort, man. And plus, like, when I was involved in the streets, it was like, I spent a lot of time doing nothing. So when I did stop the streets, it was kind of easier for me to be like, hold on. I was just sitting over here doing this that had nothing to do with nothing, that could have ended me up in jail. So why not take that and just put it into work? I love both my bosses. I love my guy Biff that I work with. Like, these people are like not your average people. For me to come in off the street, have a key to the building, I'm running the shop, like I'm doing my thing, like less than a year. It's amazing. Like I just love my job, bro. Like communicating with people, working by myself, being hands-on, building pipe, bending it, welding it. Like I love it all. Plus I love cars, so like if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. But I'm glad that I stumbled across these people that actually gave me an opportunity to show them like who I really could be. For everybody in the world, man, just stay focused, stay consistent. Life is never over for anybody. I still got shit that I'm working on myself, but life's never over. I thought it was over for me 11 months ago. I thought I'd be back in the streets somewhere doing nothing. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Roca. Appreciate it all. Thank you guys so much. I do. I really do.
Mi nombre es José Leal. Cuando llegué a Roca sentí que no era para mí. Estaba pasando por momentos muy difíciles, estaba enojado, tomando malas decisiones, teniendo peleas, hasta tenía un caso en corte. Me suspendieron de la escuela como por 6 meses. Cuando conocí a Victoria en la corte, ella me fastidiaba con llamadas, textos, pero nunca contestaba. Mi primera impresión de ella fue que mucho molestaba. La forma que yo pensaba era que si nací solo no tenía por qué obedecer a nadie. Ella me buscaba en la escuela para invitarme a sus clases. Yo le decía que sí, pero nunca iba a sus clases. Algunas veces me agarraron para darme CBT y en esos momentos pensaba que no servía. Victoria me hacía ver cuando estaba enojado y cuando estaba usando algo malo con CBT sin darme cuenta. Me enseñó la importancia de autopasado en mis valores y cómo actuar cuando podría dañar lo que realmente me importa. Victoria me llamaba constantemente, me mandaba textos. Cuando llegaba a la casa o a la escuela, mejor dicho, era fastidiosamente increíble. Ella venía a todas las citas de mis cortes sin que yo lo pidiera. Eso fue que me empezó a convencer para ir a Roca. Pensé, si voy preso, ellos es la única forma de salir libre. Empecé a buscarla para que me aconsejara cuando hacía algo malo. Una vez tuve una pelea y pues fue la primera persona que yo llamé. Yo confiaba en ella y estuve de acuerdo con entregarme a la policía para facilitar el proceso. Sabía que tenía su apoyo y no me daba tanto miedo. En El Salvador la escuela no era tan importante para mí. Cuando llegué a la escuela en Estados Unidos pensaba lo mismo. Hasta que después de la pelea me expulsaron en la escuela. Dejé la escuela por 2 años. Durante ese tiempo me dediqué a trabajar y a cuidar a mi hermana. Aunque estaba haciendo todo lo que necesitaba, empecé a usar sustancias para automedicarme. Empecé a trabajar en cocina y en construir una nueva relación. El dueño de un restaurante me ayudó mucho como a mejorar mis pensamientos y él me convenció en volver a la escuela. Cuando empecé a Roca yo era un indocumentado. Victoria me presentó a Elizabeth Patrick, una de las abogadas que ayudan a participantes en Roca gratis. Ella decidió tomar mi caso. Al principio era difícil para mí confiar en ella porque una vez que lo hice me consiguió la green card y a mi hermana le consiguió el permiso de trabajo. Soy muy agradecido por toda su ayuda. Hace algunas semanas, sin darme cuenta, resulté aconsejando a otro participante de Roca que estaba pasando por algo similar a lo que yo pasé. Y pues solo le dije que solo porque algunas personas nos cierran algunas puertas no significa que todo esté perdido, ¿no? Y pues la mejor venganza que puedes presentarle a los disciplinarios pues con un diploma en la mano y decirles que lo puedes hacer mejor que lo que ellos piensan, ¿no? Desde hace casi 6 años empecé a Roca. He logrado varias cosas, tanto mi licencia de manejo, mi green card y estoy graduándome de escuela. Aprendí acerca de stocks, conocí un poco en Europa, descubrí mi pasión por la fotografía. Soy un chef en un restaurante. Mi sueño ahora es tener mi propio restaurante, escribir mi propio libro. Ahora veo a Roca como un apoyo. Ellos nunca te juzgan aunque cometas errores continuamente. Siempre te apoyan. Elizabeth, Victoria y el resto de la Roca hicieron eso por mí y estoy muy agradecido.
Mi nombre es Marina Roque. Tengo 22 años y tengo 2 hijas hermosas. Hace 4 años estaba embarazada de mi segunda hija. No sabía que tenía trastorno de estrés postraumático y depresión. Había escapado de mi país embarazada, sola con mi hija mayor. El padre de mis hijas fue asesinado por violencia de pandillas y tenía miedo de ser la próxima. No tenía dinero ni una casa estable cuando llegué a los Estados Unidos. Todavía tenía mucho miedo y siempre estaba a la defensiva, estresada y enojada. Mi médico me dio un pedazo de papel con el número de un programa en Roca, porque necesitaba ayuda si quería mantener a mis hijas. Llamé a Roca y vine porque tenía que hacerlo. No quería hablar con nadie, pero Roca no se rindió. Mi trabajadora Patty me trajo pañales y me recogió cuando no quería salir de casa. Ella me dio esperanza a pesar de toda mi tristeza. Era amable, paciente y la primera persona en la que confié. Ella nunca me juzgó. Era difícil ser madre soltera y no saber qué iba a pasar conmigo o con mis hijas. Con la ayuda de Roca comencé a sentirme mejor. Al principio solo quería hablar con Patty, pero durante Family Nights conocí a la maestra Eugenia. Ella dijo que podía obtener mi diploma de escuela secundaria. Siempre quise estudiar, pero tuve que dejar mi educación. Venía todos los días, tomaba clases, mientras mis hijas quedaban en la sala de juegos. A veces me frustraba y dejaba de venir a clases, pero Roca seguía llamándome. No me dejaban rendirme. Me enojé con ellos. Les grité a mis hijas. Me metí en pelea con otras participantes. No me gustaba hablar sobre mis sentimientos. No estaba dispuesta a hablar sobre mi depresión y mi trauma del pasado. La primera vez que me reuní con Miss Cristina, CBT no tenía sentido para mí. Sentí que era una pérdida de tiempo y no me agradaba Miss Cristina, porque me mostró mis desencadenantes que me producían ciclos de ira y depresión. Pero empecé a ver cómo esos ciclos que estancaban y el CBT me ayudó a salir de ellos. El que más uso es estar presente, porque cuando estoy en un ciclo no puedo hacer nada más hasta que logro estar presente. El CBT es el bastón que me ayuda a caminar. Finalmente obtuve mi diploma de GED, permiso de trabajo y trabajé en Roca. Comencé a ver a Chris, la terapeuta de Roca, y probé algunos medicamentos. La pandemia fue dura para mí. Estaba sola en mi habitación, en el shelter con mis hijas, pero Roca me llamaba todos los días. Se quedaron en el teléfono conmigo mientras me levantaba, en videollamadas con mis hijas mientras tomaba un baño. Me dejaron pañales y comida. Un día me frustré y salí del shelter. Cuando me di cuenta que cometí un error, Roca me ayudó y me ayudó a regresar y a enfocarme en mis hijas. Ahora mis hijas están en un daycare y estoy trabajando en mi inglés para poder continuar mi educación y conseguir un trabajo. Quiero que mis hijas se sientan orgullosas de mí y darles todo. Todavía tengo mis altibajos, pero sé que todo estará bien.
Good morning. A very special thank you to Roderick, Jose, and Marina for sharing your stories, allowing us to learn and grow, and for inspiring us. We are humbled by your courage. Sometimes we also give an award to an extraordinary partner for their commitment. I am so proud to present the Viche Fung Award to Dan Lyons, Managing Partner at Rockport Mortgage, Dan is so humble and didn't know we would be honoring him today, but I am pleased to recognize his generosity and steadfast belief in young people. Thank you to breakfast chairs Hiran and Devika, to Charles Bank, and to our MC, Mike. To our sponsors, we are so grateful for your help. These have not been easy years. We are still living in a pandemic that has taken so many lives. Most importantly, we hope that finally the nation is having a reckoning with racial justice, but we still have a long road to go and much work ahead. To meet this moment at Roca, we are committed to learn, to face difficult truths, to change, to bring safety and opportunities, and to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. We can only do what we do because of the committed Roca staff, board, partners, and investors. We honor the sacred privilege of getting to know and walking with each and every young person. Thank you for allowing us into your lives. We do our best to accept the responsibility of our work and to use data to understand the impact of what we are doing. And we do make a difference. Last fiscal year, Roca served over 1,200 young people across 21 communities in Massachusetts and in Baltimore. We retained nearly all of those young people throughout the year, and an overwhelming majority engaged in programming like CBT, transitional employment, education, and peacemaking circles. You can't just talk a young person out of committing gun violence because few talk themselves into it in the first place. That's why our youth workers bring cognitive behavior theory, or CBT skills, to the streets to help young people learn to pause before they react, and it works. Most participants who practice CBT make changes and learn to make new choices. 2/3 of young men come to Roca with a violent history. Of those, 80% stop engaging in violence and 70% stay out of prison for at least 3 years. These numbers are incredible when you understand the recidivism rate in Massachusetts for 18 to 24-year-olds is over 50%. Each and every day, the murder rate in Baltimore is too high and completely unacceptable. However, in the past year, there are less 16 to 24-year-olds getting killed. While Roca cannot draw a direct connection to this reduction, we believe we have helped. We have worked with over 380 young people in the past 4 years, and we have unprecedented and critical partnerships with the Baltimore Police Department, the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services, and the Maryland Department of Parole and Probation. Now, I am excited to introduce everyone to a few members of the Roca Baltimore team as they share their thoughts on their work, the challenges, and all that is possible for Baltimore and the nation.
I come to Roca every day for the young people. I mean, that's a pretty simple answer, but it's a privilege to serve them, and that's kind of been the thing that remains the same.
Relentless outreach is what we do. That is our bread and butter, and it's everyone. Crew supervisors, youth workers, educators, directors, assistant directors, we're all out doing outreach because that's the core of what we do.
So one day I was walking out of the office to a meeting and I encountered our VP at the bottom of the steps tussling with a staff person. That young man had spit on staff's face and he pulled out a knife. And we didn't kick him out of Roca. That's not something that you get kicked out for.
So with CBT, you can use it a multitude of ways, but the way that I primarily use it is when it comes to addressing real life situations that they may have or different situations that they may come into contact with. And we use these things to kind of like help them be able to take the pause to be able to get out of the survival portion of their brain and go towards the top portion where they're able to actually really think through their decisions and choices to potentially be able to make another choice.
Holding them accountable is very important, especially when it comes to just showing up. A lot of guys call out, don't come to work, no call, no show. So you gotta hold them accountable for all their actions. You know, in their own way, they hold themselves accountable throughout time. You know.
Our guys are not expected to be value-driven. They're expected to be reckless and just they don't care about anything. But if you take time to get to know them, they are really driven by their values. And they care greatly about a lot of things, and that's why they make a lot of the decisions that they make.
Our CBT guru, I call Pop Pop. He's the best at CBT. I try to pick his brain, and I try to mimic his style the most. It seems very relaxed, but at the same time still feels like therapy and not forced.
It's super important for us to engage guys so we don't keep traveling down this path of violence. and look more forward to future for these young men.
Thank you to the Baltimore team, and thank you to each of you. None of what we could do could be accomplished without financial resources. Thank you again to our many supporters. For those of you who aren't yet financial supporters, we hope you will consider making an investment in our work, and more importantly, in the young people we are privileged to work with. We would be honored to earn your support. Now, I am so excited to introduce to you our keynote speaker, and so sad that we are not in the room together for you to meet him. All you have to do is listen to Jeff Canada speak, and you will be immediately lost in all that is possible for young people in this country, and compelled to action by his hopefulness and boundless energy. Jeff has it all: smart, commitment, and an enormous heart. To you, Jeff, the man from New York City who started outreach in Dorchester and then went on literally to liberate generations of children and people in Harlem and across the nation to be all they dream of, we are so deeply honored to have you join us today. Thank you.
Some of you may not know, but I have been a fan of Roca for decades. Molly and I go way back. I won't say the number of years. You all probably have no idea how long we have been colleagues in this work and how important Roca's work is to this nation. For those of you from Massachusetts, I started my career in Boston. I was working with teenagers from some of the toughest housing projects in the city. I don't know if these housing projects are still around. There was the Maverick Housing Project, Orchard Park, Bromley Heath. And the children I worked with were kids who were growing up like my friends grew up in the South Bronx. They were poor. They came from troubled homes. They had basically no positive influences guiding their later part of their life. And many of these young people ended up lost. The kids I worked with, for every one of those young people, I saw 7 or 8 of their friends having no positive adult in their life. And in the 70s, when I started my career, there was no Roca. And I knew the outcome for so many of these young people was going to be devastating. Many of them were going to end up unemployed, having children before they had jobs. So many of these young people ended up in the jails and prisons in this country. And today we know about toxic stress. We didn't know about that when I started my career. We didn't know the impact of growing up in a home with adverse childhood experiences, which we call ACEs. That what it has, the impact it has on those young brains. Today we know one of the areas it impacts the most is the executive functioning, the decision making. And look, we all know teenagers, they do dumb things. I mean, it's just, what can you say? It's just true. I did when I was growing up. And for some young people, early mistakes start them on a series of cascading poor decisions that end up destroying their lives. And when I see our young people ending up in jails and prisons, and so many of them ending up shot, abused, murdered, I recognize that we can trace so much of this to those early experiences in their life that diverted them from what we would consider a healthy developmental path for our young people. The issues facing kids today are more serious than they ever were. And for me, when I left Boston, I was convinced that we had to come up with a better way. So in '83, I came here to Harlem and created the Harlem Children's Zone by 1995. We started thinking about how could we give these young people hope? I mean, this is the biggest thing I think I've done in my career. I have 10,000 kids who have hope. They believe they're going to make it. They believe they're going to be adults there to help them get through the tough parts of their life. And it's not like my kids don't make the same mistakes that young people are making all over this country. It's that we're here to help them. We're here to support them. We're here to guide them out and sometimes to bail them out, to allow these young people to reset, to find often forgiveness. Yes, you've done something wrong, but who says, even though you've stolen something, you're not a thief? Even though you've committed a crime, you're not a criminal. You're really a good person who's just made a mistake, and I'm here to get you back on that path. Well, here at the Harlem Children's Zone, that those of us who work here across the country, it's the team that Roca has put together. Your message to these young people that we will not give up on you, that we're going to meet you where you are at. Places that most folks tell folks stay out of those places. Don't go there at night. Don't go there by yourself. Who's going to go to those places and save children? I'll tell you who's going to go. The team from Roca. They're there every day supporting young people who other folks have just considered throwaways. And they don't give up. And you know, whenever I think about the work we're faced with today, work that I will tell you a lot of people don't believe that you can be successful with these kids, that it's too much, there are too many obstacles, it's too overwhelming. Every time I hear those kinds of suggestions that we aren't going to be successful, I'm reminded of a story that is one of my favorite stories. It's not mine, but I love the story. You may have heard it. It's about starfish. There was a woman walking along the beach in the summer, and she noticed that the starfish had come out with the high tide, and the tide had gone back in, and the fish were on the sand. And it was a particularly hot day, and the sun was coming up, and she realized those starfish were not going to be able to make it into the ocean, and most of them were going to dry out and die on that sand. And she began to just reach down and pick up starfish and throw them back into the ocean. There were thousands of them, and this man saw her and just decided he had to come over and tell her the truth. And he said, "Miss, look, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to save these starfish, but just look how many there are." He says, "You'll never save them." And she looked down and picked up one of those starfish and threw it into the ocean. She said, "I saved that one." And to me, that is the key to our work. Are we going to be the ones that when everybody else says that kid can't be saved, that we say, "I saved that one"? You don't know which kid's life you're going to save by the work you're doing today. And sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it doesn't happen this week or this month, maybe even this year. It's the fact that you all are out there on those streets dealing with the worst crisis we've seen in this country, where the mental health challenges are severe, the stress is overwhelming on everybody. Violence is at a record level. Kids are using guns in ways that are shocking to the whole nation. You're on the front lines. You're saving kids. And my message to you is, don't let anybody tell you it can't be done. Don't let anybody tell you that that kid that's had 4 arrests, has a gun charge, is just basically on the fringe of becoming homelessness, can't be saved. You keep doing the work, and I'm sure you'll be like me, looking at kids years later and saying, "I saved that one." Molly, the Roca team, you guys keep up this work. The country needs you. We need someone who's going to show us that you never give up and you get the most difficult kids to come back into the fold and reach a new level of potential that most folks didn't think they had. Thank you so much. And Molly, I promised you and the team I'm going to be there live when you all have your next live conference. So until then, thank you and have a great session.
Jim Mahoney believed in second chances and cross-sector partnerships for change. At Roca, we have been given a gift by Jim's family and the Bank of America to honor his legacy with an annual award to a systems partner whose commitment to helping people stands out and brings change. It is my great honor to introduce to you Captain Dave Batchelor of the Chelsea Police Department. You can read Dave's bio in the program, but what you won't get from it is his absolute and genuine desire to help people, nor will you understand his courage to try different things, his love of people, or his humor. We at Roca have known Dave for 34 years. He is always willing to help, and he jumps into action with us even when he isn't sure we know what we are doing, and he never lets us forget it. Most of all, he teaches us by example about being a caring and kind human being and an extraordinary police officer. He was none too thrilled about the idea of receiving an award, which makes him the absolute best choice. Dave, the Roca team appreciates you and loves you and honors you. Thank you.
I just want to thank Molly for that very kind introduction, for those kind words. Thank you very much, Molly. I want to thank all of the Roca staff for all the work that they do, helping young people in Chelsea and beyond. I'd also like to thank everybody for attending today and supporting Roca. All your support and all your work to help Roca and the young people of Chelsea certainly doesn't go unnoticed. This is truly embarrassing to me to accept this public recognition. As Molly said, I'm not really that comfortable. It's a little bit embarrassing to me, but you can't refuse Molly. So I really had no choice. When Molly said I had to do this, that's what I have to do. But it is a great honor to accept this award in the name of James Mahoney. I did not know James personally, but I heard so many wonderful things about him as a supporter of Roca, and also as even more so as a human being. So it really is an honor for me to accept this award in his name. Just a quick story about how I started with Roca. I've been a police officer for over 36 years, and Roca's been in the city of Chelsea for 34 of those 36 years. Many years ago, when I was promoted to sergeant, the chief at the time ordered me and said to me, Dave, go over to Roca and find out what's going on over there. Because we never really had a relationship with Roca. So, I did as I was told, as we do in policing. And when I first came here, I wasn't really sure what was going on. I was apprehensive, but where I was ordered to come, and usually I'm open-minded, I figured, let me just go there and see what's going on. And very quickly, I realized that they were trying to do the same thing that we were trying to do. They were trying to help young people in the city of Chelsea and keep our community safe. So our relationship built from there. We have a relationship of trust and respect. And for 34 years since then, we've been working together to help young people in Chelsea. So meeting the moment, I think that's the theme of today's breakfast. Two things I think that we have done recently with Roca is the Hub and Rewire 4. The Hub was started back a few years ago. Molly introduced us to a group from Canada that introduced the Hub in Canada several years ago. And then Molly found out about it somehow, and she let our chief know, and our chief delegated to me, and we got together with the trainers from Canada. They came here, they trained us, but it's been a great way for us to bring all the service providers together in the city of Chelsea and just help those people that are at risk. There's a certain process that we use, and we've been doing it for 7 years now, and it has been a great benefit to the city of Chelsea and those that are struggling from high risk. So that was something that Molly brought to us, and it's been very, very beneficial to Chelsea. The other thing we just started doing recently is Rewire 4. It's cognitive behavioral theory. Roca has been doing that with the young people here at Roca and in other communities to help them, deal with emotions. And I think for police officers today, emotional regulation can be very, very important for officers to always be in control to make good decisions. So Molly called me a few months ago and she said, what do you think about this? I said, if it can help police officers, let's try it. And we've been doing a pilot program for the last 3 or 4 months We've done the training with about 100 officers here in Massachusetts and beyond. We did about 40 officers and trained about 40 officers in Baltimore. To wrap this up, I would again, really like to thank everybody that's here today for the celebration. Unfortunately, we can't be in person. I wish we were. Maybe next year we can get back to everybody getting together. But before I close, I just want to thank Chief Brian Kais for allowing me the opportunity to work with Roca over these years. I mean, Chief Kais, if anybody knows Brian, he's certainly a very innovative chief and really understands the importance of building relationships between the police department and communities and treating everybody with dignity and respect. So thank you, Chief Kais, for the opportunity over the years to work with Roca. And I would also like to thank all of the Chelsea police officers and the Chelsea Police Department. We have a great bunch of officers that on a daily basis are out there in the streets trying to help everybody in the community, working with Roca, and just treating everybody dignity and respect, and knowing what their purpose is as a police officer, which is to help people. Thank you very much for attending, and enjoy the rest of the morning.
We need to acknowledge the tremendous courage and resiliency of the 3 Youth Award winners. These extraordinary young people are exemplars of what is possible when given the tools and support. Special thanks to Jeff Canada for his words of inspiration and his work. What is important to note as we close is that the work of Roca is in fact the work of a just society, a society that sees it as its mission to mitigate suffering, promote justice, and create the conditions for all people to thrive. While Roca is and has been positioned to do this work, it is the generous support of our partners and donors that make this life-changing and life-saving work possible. For us to continue to meet the moment, your ongoing support is essential. Please give generously.